competition, and it's about the process for me. You know, I don't think about the end result. I think about the process that I put into it to even get to the point where I can be in the warm-up and then go into a game. So it's everything behind the scenes that get me going before it actually starts.
You and I have been in a lot of playoff and finals battles together. In that, it's an approach that you have to have. What makes you feel in year 23
A secret power struggle has been tearing the Lakers apart from the inside. We've seen the public warnings, the icy silences, the battles over control, but we've never heard the full, uncensored truth from someone who is in the room. Until now, LeBron James' closest friend, his championship brother, has broken ranks. Dwayne Wade, in a stunning, unfiltered interview, has just leaked the real story behind the Lakers' civil war. He's not giving opinions, he's revealing conversations, private moments, and the shocking details of how far the Lakers' ownership really went to try and control the most powerful player in the world. This is the leak that changes everything. To understand the magnitude of Dwayne Wade's revelation, you must first understand his unique position. He is not a journalist, not a Lakers employee, not a talking head with second-hand sources. He is LeBron James's other basketball brain. Their bond, forged in Miami and tempered over a lifetime, operates on a frequency closed to the outside world. When the Lakers' internal war reached its peak, Wade wasn't watching from a distance. He was on the phone, in the group chats, a trusted counsel in LeBron's innermost circle. He heard the raw frustration, the strategic calculations, and the private disbelief in real time. According to Wade's explosive account, the conflict was never truly about basketball strategy or practice court decorum. It was, from the very beginning, an existential battle over sovereignty. Ownership, led by Jeannie Buss, saw LeBron's unprecedented influence, his sway over roster moves, his public commentary on team needs, his son's drafting, as a creeping annexation of franchise power. Their goal, as relayed through private discussions LeBron shared with Wade, was to re-establish the hierarchy. They wanted the Lakers to function like a traditional corporation again, with the star as a brilliant but contained employee in Department B. LeBron, through Wade's telling, saw it differently. He didn't view his actions as a takeover, but as the fulfillment of a partnership he believed he was promised, a partnership to build a champion, not just play for one. When that partnership felt one-sided, when his basketball intellect and market-moving power were welcomed, but his operational input was dismissed as overreach, a fundamental breach of trust occurred. Wade describes LeBron's mindset not as one of anger, but of profound disappointment. The LeBron empire wasn't trying to conquer the Lakers. It believed it had been invited to merge with it. The attempted control from ownership wasn't seen as discipline, but as a betrayal of that very merger. And Dwayne Wade was the confidential archive for every moment of that betrayal.
But at that point, I'm saying, like, it had to be bigger than me, which was hard to do because we all come in, like, check the name on the back.
Right.
But I just had to look at myself in the mirror and say, this is not why you playing with LeBron James and Chris Bosh.
Right.
You're not playing with them to check the name on the back. You're playing with them to check the rings on your finger.
Correct.
And so let's get to that.
65 Chicago. Wade on the run. Banks it home. So here comes Wade. He scores and a foul. Dwayne Wade in the fourth.
Dwayne Wade didn't just share general sentiments. He went nuclear with specifics. In a sprawling, candid podcast interview meant to discuss his own legacy, the host steered the conversation toward the Lakers' visible turmoil. Wade, after a pause of clear deliberation, decided to bridge the gap between rumor and reality. "Let me tell you what it's really about, because I was there for the conversations," Wade began, his tone shifting from celebratory to solemn. "It's about control, plain and simple. They have the most brilliant basketball mind maybe ever, a guy who sees the game 5 steps ahead, who understands how to build a roster, how to manage egos, how to win in this league better than anyone sitting in any office. And they wanted him to turn it off, to be a puppet." He then unveiled the core tension. When you bring LeBron James to your franchise, you're not just getting a player, You're getting an institution. You're getting a CEO-level basketball intellect. The mistake was thinking they could buy the product but silence the CEO. So when he'd suggest something, a player, adjustment, anything, and it was met with "stay in your lane," it wasn't just disrespect, it was a waste of the very resource they paid for. The most devastating leak followed. Wade detailed a private ownership directive following the practice court incident that was relayed to LeBron's camp. The message was that all basketball decisions must now flow through the official channels, and that public commentary on team construction was detrimental to unified operations. In Wade's telling, this was the smoking gun. It was a formal memo to the franchise's centerpiece to stop thinking like a partner. They sent him a memo to be quiet, to the guy who is the reason the lights are on and the seats are full. That's when he knew it was a fight he couldn't win, because they weren't fighting for the championship. They were fighting for a flowchart. With this, Wade did more than leak details. He reframed the entire public narrative. This wasn't a story about a diva superstar versus a principled owner. It was a story about a franchise refusing to utilize its greatest asset's full potential, choosing control over collaboration, and in doing so, sabotaging its own championship aspirations. Wade turned LeBron from a potential problem into a tragically underutilized solution. The leak wasn't an attack, it was an indictment of wasteful management, delivered by the most credible witness imaginable.
We've had so many matchups versus each other, and this is the last one, for us, and especially in the regular season, there's something amazing happened where we end up in the finals, right, against each other, but this is the last, matchup versus each other, and as you guys see, the record is 15-15, and that's the kind of, that's how it's been. We've had amazing.
LeBron James, I'm not going to ask you about the 26-game win streak. What I'm going to ask you about is,
basically how they were able to get the lead early in the.
All right, get out. How was they able to get the lead early in it? After coming out in the first quarter.
The impact of Dwayne Wade's testimony was instantaneous and transformative. He didn't just share gossip, he provided a credible, first-hand account that instantly vaporized the Lakers' carefully managed PR narratives. Wade had no axe to grind with the Lakers, no contract to protect. His credibility was unimpeachable. This gave his words the weight of truth in a landscape drowning in speculation. Inside the Lakers' headquarters, the reaction was one of silent panic. The front office could no longer control the story. They couldn't label Wade a biased outsider or a media puppet. He was LeBron's brother. His account carried the intimacy of a private confession, making the organization's previous statements seem like hollow corporate spin. Every denial they might issue would now be measured against Wade's calm, specific, and damning details. Their authority over the narrative was permanently broken. Across the NBA, the leak acted as a seismic event that reshaped player-owner relations. In locker rooms and group chats, Wade was hailed as a hero for telling the real. Veteran stars saw it as validation of their own silent frustrations with organizational politics. For young superstars, it was a chilling case study, a warning that even LeBron James could be muzzled, that your brain could be seen as a threat to someone else's authority. The leak fundamentally shifted the perception of the Lakers from a coveted destination to a cautionary tale of stifling bureaucracy. Most critically, Wade's intervention isolated the Lakers' ownership in the court of public opinion. The fan base, already fractured, now had an unimpeachable source to cite. The pro-LeBron faction felt vindicated. See? Even D. Wade says they tried to handcuff him. The more neutral observers were forced to confront Wade's central, devastating question: why would you hire a genius and then forbid him from thinking? The Lakers were no longer just a team in a slump. They were portrayed as an organization so insecure in its own power that it would rather lose with control than win with collaboration. Wade didn't just leak information. He framed the Lakers' internal war as a tragic, self-inflicted wound of poor leadership, a narrative that will haunt the franchise long after this particular conflict ends.
I actually have seen it up close, but I know. See, the only thing I know about my GOAT from a standpoint of how he handles failures is what I've seen on documentaries or what I saw from my young naked eye of him missing game winners, but coming back and shooting the next one. I don't know the days in between at all. I didn't see the process to his greatness. I saw the results,
right,
which is great. But the only thing I'm able to see is the highlights. I don't really remember.
How does the game of basketball keep you young?
Well, I mean, obviously, as I get older, I'm playing with much younger guys. I think my boys keep.
In the aftermath of Dwayne Wade's nuclear leak, all eyes turned to LeBron James. How would the king respond to his brother's very public, very specific defense? Would he confirm it, elaborate, express gratitude? He did none of those things. He offered nothing but a profound, echoing silence. This silence was not passive. It was a masterful, strategic endorsement. By saying absolutely nothing, LeBron accomplished several critical objectives. First, he allowed Wade's testimony to stand as the definitive, unchallenged record. Any statement from LeBron would have shifted focus onto him, potentially muddying the clean, credible narrative Wade had delivered. Second, his silence was a form of supreme validation. It signaled to the world what Dwayne said is the truth. It requires no addition or correction from me. It was the ultimate mic drop, delivered by proxy. Most importantly, LeBron's silence protected the sanctity of the Brotherhood's move. If he had publicly thanked Wade, it would have transformed a principled revelation into a coordinated PR attack. By staying quiet, he framed Wade's actions as those of a loyal friend speaking an independent truth, not as a soldier following orders. This made the leak appear more authentic, more courageous, and far more damaging to the Lakers front office. They weren't just battling LeBron, they were now facing the righteous indignation of his legendary peers, a much tougher enemy to vilify. This turn of events created an impossible paradox for Lakers ownership. They couldn't attack Wade without looking petty and vindictive against a universally respected figure. They couldn't address the specifics of his claims without confirming private conversations they desperately wanted to keep secret. And they couldn't rely on LeBron to contradict his friend, because the king had chosen the most powerful weapon of all, quiet assent. The Brotherhood bomb, as it's now being called, left the Lakers' hierarchy exposed, outmaneuvered, and utterly alone, realizing that in a war against a king, you must also be prepared for the fury of his knights.
Back then, as we seen on Wintertime, they were doing coin flips and all in the back. Like, it was different. So, like, I never, first of all, I never imagined, and I don't know if people believe me, I never thought LeBron and I would play together. I had a meeting with the Miami Heat about this 2 years before we ever played together.
Right.
Do you think? And I was like, 0.0000.1% chance that we would ever play together.
right.
Right?
And I remember cutting my TV off as soon as when Kobe ran and grabbed that ball. I was like, LeBron.
All right, LeBron. Especially losing against them before. CV,
I ain't lying to you. I'm not lying to you. I cut the TV off when I watched that.
Dwayne Wade's leak did more than expose a single conflict. It created a new, potent blueprint for player power in the modern NBA. This was no longer about social media gripes or anonymous sources. This was a Hall of Fame caliber peer leveraging his unimpeachable credibility to publicly dissect and dismantle a franchise's internal strategy. The playbook has now been written. When a front office engages in a power struggle, the ultimate countermove may not come from the player himself, but from his most respected ally speaking plain, devastating truth. This shifts the balance of power in unseen ways. Front offices must now operate under the assumption that any significant conflict could be audited, not by the media, but by a legend with a microphone and nothing to lose. The cost of trying to control a superstar has just skyrocketed. It's no longer a private personnel matter. It risks becoming a public referendum on organizational competence, narrated by a voice the fans trust more than the owner's press release. For superstar players, Wade's move is a revelation. It demonstrates that their leverage extends beyond their own brand. It resides in their network, in the brotherhood of elite peers who can validate their experience and reframe a narrative with a single interview. The Wade defense is now a part of the arsenal, a way to fight a war of perception without the superstar having to fire a public shot themselves, preserving their own strategic ambiguity while the truth is delivered by a surrogate. The Lakers, in this new reality, are no longer just a dysfunctional team. They have become the ultimate test case. They are the franchise that chose control over collaboration and are now being held accountable not by pundits, but by a pantheon-level player. Every other front office is watching. They are seeing the scorched earth that results from a failed attempt to compartmentalize a transcendent talent. The message is clear. In today's NBA, you either partner fully with your superstar's vision or you risk having your internal failures narrated to the world by a legend you can't intimidate, can't fire, and can't silence. The Lakers' civil war is no longer their own. It's a cautionary tale for the entire league, and Dwayne Wade just wrote the headline.
This dude up there.
He left the hospital with more than everybody.
Bro, listen. Bro, Brandon, be Marshall. This dude up there, bro.
Out the womb. Bro, his shopping cart of talent when he was born was bigger than everybody's, dog.
They gave him everything.
The dude behind LeBron, he don't have nothing.
The dust from Dwayne Wade's revelation will settle, but the landscape of the Los Angeles Lakers is permanently altered. The damage is not superficial, it is structural, affecting the franchise's most vital assets, its credibility, its allure, and its very identity. First, the credibility of the front office is obliterated. Their private directives and official channels have been exposed as tools of control, not efficiency. Every future decision they make, a trade, a draft pick, a coaching hire, will now be scrutinized through Wade's lens. Is this a genuine basketball move or another attempt to assert authority? Trust, once the currency of a successful franchise, is now bankrupt in Los Angeles. Players, agents, and even other teams will doubt the sincerity and competence of the Lakers' basketball operations, viewing them as preoccupied with internal power struggles rather than championship building. Second, the Lakers' brand as a premier destination is in tatters. For decades, the allure was the promise of legacy, resources, and a partnership with greatness. Wade's testimony reframed the Lakers as a place where greatness is managed, muted, and placed in a box. Why would a top-tier free agent or disgruntled star choose to walk into a documented war zone between ownership and superstardom? The pitch is now corrupted. The Lakers can no longer sell a collaborative dream. They can only offer a contract, and one that may come with strings designed to limit a player's influence. The glamour is gone, replaced by the glare of dysfunction. Finally, and most profoundly, the identity of the franchise has been split in two. There is the Laker way of Dr. Jerry Buss, a family-run empire that empowered superstars, fostered showmanship, and chased glory with joyful aggression. And now there is the new Laker way exposed by Wade, a corporate entity obsessed with hierarchical control, willing to sacrifice a king's full potential to protect a flowchart. This internal civil war isn't just between people, it's between these two conflicting identities. Until one vision decisively wins, the Lakers will be a schizophrenic organization, preaching family while practicing corporate policy, yearning for championships while sabotaging the very partnerships required to win them. Dwayne Wade didn't just leak a story, he held up a mirror, and the reflection showed a legendary franchise that no longer recognizes its own face. What began as a private power struggle inside the NBA's most famous arena has exploded into a defining moment for the entire league. Dwayne Wade, from the outside, accomplished what no one inside could. He delivered the unvarnished, credible truth. We learned that the Lakers' war was never about basketball. It was a futile attempt to put a genie back in a bottle, to take the partnership they promised LeBron James and downgrade it to an employee manual. In response, the Brotherhood of Players showed its ultimate strength, not in collective bargaining, but in collective truth-telling. The legacy of this saga is clear. The Lakers face a long, steep climb back to respectability, burdened by a reputation for distrust and control. Dwayne James's final chapter in Los Angeles is now shadowed by a publicly acknowledged fracture, And the NBA has a new precedent that the voices of legacy players can be the most powerful arbiters of truth, capable of holding even the most storied franchises accountable. The final question is this: when a franchise chooses control over championships, what does it have left to sell besides memories? This story is still being written. Subscribe to witness the next inevitable chapter in the fall of a dynasty.